Ninh explains why American football doesn't quite suck in the UK. Oh no, you're crapping on yet another sport. You're misinformed, get your facts straight. Bitch please, I did my research, maybe you should too. Besides, most of the dislikes come from triggered fans who don't like it when someone makes an honest critique about their sport. #offended. But why is it that American football doesn't quite suck here in the UK? Especially given that ice hockey and basketball are infinitely more popular. Before I explain, you know what to do, subscribe and hit the bell. The reason why I'm giving American football a pass here is simply because they've barely had a chance to play it. Whilst ice hockey has been around for over 100 years, and people can barely play it anywhere, basketball has been around for over 100 years, and is badly organised, and baseball has been around for over 100 years, and nobody cares. American football is different because it's only been played in the country since about 1982. They've had less than 40 years of actually playing the game. Okay, there's been some exhibition games played by the US military stationed over here, but largely before 1982, American football wasn't even a thing here in the UK. Nobody played it, nobody watched it, nobody knew a damn thing about it. It's a fairly recent phenomenon. So what's happened? Why 1982 specifically? Back in the day, there were only 4 TV channels that were free to watch for everyone: BBC One, BBC Two, ITV and Channel 4. It was Channel 4 that started to show weekly NFL highlights. This new, strange brand of football, coupled with the rising problems in British soccer, especially with hooliganism, meant that popularity and curiosity of American football surged in the coming years. A lot of fans, including myself, became fans of the sport just from watching Channel 4. With an increase in demand came an increase of teams, and the British American Football Federation and American Football League UK were formed. Teams sprouted up all over the country, and this was the start of the UK's interest in American football. Obviously, the playing standard was light years behind the Americans, but at least it was a start. Over the next decade, more people became interested in the NFL, and more people were interested in actually playing American football. But there was one thing plaguing it that is a common denominator to all these other sports: lack of money. Whilst big name sponsors like Budweiser became title sponsors for the league, that money dried up pretty quickly, and the costs of running the league spiralled out of control. Without other big name sponsors and no funding from the government, because it's not an Olympic sport, teams either folded or never really progressed. The league itself went into liquidation. By the late 1980s, all seemed lost, and American football was destined to become another niche sport that fell flat on its face in spectacular fashion. They needed a generous benefactor, one that would inject life and interest back into the sport. Their prayers were answered as the biggest benefactor of all arrived onto our shores: the NFL itself. After playing an exhibition game in Wembley in 1986 between the Bears and the Cowboys, go Cowboys, the NFL thought to itself, hang on, we're onto something here. An untapped English-speaking market with a good fan base, they already know how to play the game, they're interested in participating, they have teams, they watch our league on TV, and we make pretty good profits off them. All they need is a little startup money and the opportunity. So why don't we give it to them? In 1990, the NFL set up the NFL Trust to develop the participation of the game here in the country. And a year after that, in 1991, the World League of American Football was formed. A league of international teams from the US, Canada, Germany, Spain, and the London Monarchs being the sole UK representative. The first season was a huge success, with the Monarchs beating the Barcelona Dragons in the first ever World Bowl 21-0. They played in front of 61,000 screaming fans at the old Wembley Stadium. British fans went nuts, and they really got behind the team. Their success was proof positive that if you build it and they're successful, they will come. This is called the NFL effect. By 1995, they added a second team, the Scottish Claymores, based out of Edinburgh, Scotland. And by 1998, the British American Football League was formed, finally giving the country a universally recognised governing body for the participation of American football. Structure, success, and mainstream popularity. What could possibly go wrong? So far, this video has been pretty positive, but you know this is where it goes south. The WLAF, which was now rebranded as NFL Europe, had its own share of problems. I won't explain the full story as it's coming up in a future video right here, but in short, they made some pretty bad decisions that resulted in the demise of the Monarchs, the Claymores, and eventually the league itself. As a spectator sport, Channel 4 stopped showing the NFL to the masses for free, which dulled the mainstream interest, especially seeing as though the internet wasn't really a thing yet. If you wanted to watch the NFL, you'd have to pay for Sky Satellite TV, which nobody did, just for a few American football highlights. And as a participation sport, the BAFL suffered from infighting with the BAFA, which had positioned itself as the recognised governing body ahead of the BAFL. Despite them, they actually withdrew from the BAFA, but sadly for them, the teams that governed them didn't share their opinion, effectively leaving them as a football league managing exactly 0 teams. That ultimately spelled their demise, and since 2010, the BAFA now runs the sports here in the UK. By the mid-2000s, with no NFL Europe, an alarming drop in spectator views thanks to Channel 4 not showing games anymore, and participation numbers down because of teams going bust or teams not agreeing with leagues and governing bodies, it seemed like once again American football was destined to fall to a painful death. And then the NFL stepped in again. The NFL isn't stupid. Sure, they've made some bad decisions in the past, but they've made enough good decisions to make them the most profitable sports league in the world, by a mile. They're pretty convinced that they weren't wrong about the UK. So, in 2007, they came back to London with the Giants and Dolphins. Sellout crowd. 2008 with the Chargers and Saints. Sellout crowd. They've come back every year for the last 13 years, all games, all sellouts. They definitely weren't wrong. The UK is an excellent market ripe for the picking. Clearly, the demand for the NFL is still there. You could argue whether it's real British demand or continental Europe demand, but one thing you can't say is that it's a novelty, because it's not. It's gone way past novelty, and surely if it was, then the demand would have died off by now. But no, sellout, sellout, sellout. They're even playing more and more games every year with the intention of possibly shipping out a team here permanently. Whether they will or not is covered in some of my other videos. And because of the NFL effect, the BAFA have had to pull their socks up. They've had to be pretty organised because there's a lot of towns and cities wanting to form teams now. They've had to create a structure, a hierarchy of teams, and a progression system very similar to that of the USA. And the teams themselves have had to pull their finger out too. It's no longer a bunch of guys who want to hit somebody on a field anymore. They've got training regimes, diets, deals with gyms, etc. Even though it's still an amateur sport, the players train like pros. Even universities have caught on to American football, with university teams competing in the Bucks League. Though this isn't at all like the NCAA, where students get free education just for playing. Well, not yet anyway. The only thing missing is a fully professionalised league with TV and sponsorship deals, like what the UK has for ice hockey and football, mainly because the standard isn't good enough to be televised. But progress is fast, and I wouldn't put it past teams to become so good that they could play professionally. And to make sure that the sport doesn't fall flat on its face for a third time, the NFL have permanent offices in London that oversee their own training and performance camps for talented individuals. They realise that it's a huge untapped market in potential players, especially ex-rugby players. Imagine a whole country full of players with transferable skills, as well as ex-soccer and basketball players and athletes who, for some reason, can't catch a break in their own sport but are welcomed with open arms in American football. Some notable Brits now play in the NFL, and I'm pretty sure we'll see a lot more as the years go by. In short, American football doesn't quite suck in the UK because there's a reason why the NFL play in London every single year. It stokes the fire that is demand for American football in the country. Will teams become good enough to have fully professional leagues soon? Will the UK end up with its own NFL franchise? Are Brits good enough to compete on an international level and be known for its American football rather than their native version of football? The sport is still in its infancy over here, and only time will tell. But I wouldn't bet against it. I thoroughly believe that American football is the sleeping giant here in the UK. If you have enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, share and subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comment section below.